taking over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast. We're hooking up with our main man, Terry Bowden, the legendary coach, is from the Bowden Blitz, of course, and he's also on Coast to Coast, regularly with us, with a great career in college football, second to none. And we love talking football with him, and we're going to go back and look at this Notre Dame and Ohio State, what's pending, the national championship, and how it came to fruition. Yeah. With Texas losing to Ohio State, you and I were just talking about how they butchered that ball at the 1, first and goal from the 1, 1st and 1, and they run sideways and they fumble and butcher the whole thing. And meanwhile, across the front, they got 6'5", 350 average on that front line. Like, how soft are you? You can't push them 1 yard.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Texas has to. If they're Texas, if they're Texas long, I don't care if it is Ohio State. You ought to be able to pound it 4 times and get a yard. Don't take a loss. Don't allow penetration. Don't allow the edge until you're running back to get your head in the crack and push a crack. And you're gonna get 1 yard in 4 downs, but don't go sideways. You lose 7. Now you got to throw it on 3rd and 7. Throw it on 4th and 7. It basically was a call that I don't understand. I don't have their game plan. I don't have what they thought they saw. But they've got so much speed going sideways. It cost them a chance to tie the game, probably a chance to go in overtime with a chance to win.
I mean, it was they were going to tie the game, and instead they fumble. Yeah. He goes 83 yards, and now you lose by 14, and then all the bettors are screwed. But they wouldn't have covered anyway. They were down 7. They might have. But when they fumbled, the cover was over.
Yeah. And you got to remember, it's only 2 plays. They have a 75-yard screen, which I think Texas did a poor job. 13 seconds left in the half, and they rushed people hard, and they played their secondary way back, and it's a pure screen situation. That's where people screen. Went 75 yards, 1 play touchdown, and then the scoop and score was another touchdown. That's 14 points. The difference in the game on 2 big plays, and really 2 of the 3 could have been prevented.
So let me ask you a couple of questions about Texas. If you were coaching Texas, honestly, would you have played Arch Manning more than this guy Ewers? The way he was loyal to that Ewers guy, it baffled me because I frankly, without a doubt, I think Arch Manning's better. And he's going to have a gigantic career in the NFL, and I do not believe Quinn Ewers will.
Yeah, I will say in my mind that there's still a good argument either way, depending on what they see every day in practice. But they needed a spark. Remember when Arch Manning went in 1 play, made a critical first down on a run? Right. It would have easily been the spark. So I can't put myself in their shoes in regard to how good he's been practicing all week and the difference in those 2. But to me, he would have been – they could bring him in at the end. Not only do they have a chance to win the game, because I think he plays as well or better than Quinn Ewers most of the time. And so that would have, to me, that gave them a chance not only to get the win, but also to the lift it would be for the future. But I will say this, I don't watch practice every day and how close that is in getting the game plan. But Arch is he knows football pretty good.
I mean, honestly, every time he played, he lit it up. And he's better. This is all I have to ask you this.
Yeah.
So I thought the best game of the entire college football playoff was the Arizona State-Texas game. And I got to be honest with you. They blew that 4th and 13. Otherwise, they win the game, and they're playing in that game against Ohio State. Did you agree with that was the best game? And what did you think of how they pulled that out with that double overtime touchdown and 2-point conversion after they had scored on the 4th and 13?
Yeah, I mean, to me, that was probably the most exciting game in regard to nobody gave Arizona State a chance. And they did an incredible job. And so that was a great game by them. And I couldn't believe the way they came back to win in overtime.
Do you think Scottaboo will be a good pro?
golly, you know what? I think so. Every time you watch him, he produces. He runs. He's tough. He can run against anybody, and he catches a ton of passes. Those are touchdown passes. But he's a great versatile back, and I think he's got a great future because he's very tough, very physical, and he can run, catch, and throw a halfback pass. So no, I think he has a bright future just because he's a guy that can go through the trenches and go through the toughness. Not look that pretty all the time, but he's always productive.
When you were at Auburn,
yeah,
did you ever obsess over Alabama the way Day obsesses over Michigan? Meanwhile, he's going to play for a national championship, but he's still worried about losing to Michigan.
Well, I will say this: his fans help him a little bit. I've coached against Michigan and Texas. I mean, up there, you either got to beat Michigan, or play for a national championship. And he's 0-4 against Michigan. So whether he can block that out, the fans are not going to let him. Now, right now, he's got that blocked out because he's playing for the national championship. But I will say this: he needs to not worry about it as much, and he may be. But the fans are not going to let that still. I coached in Ohio long enough. When I was at Akron, I watched Ohio State and their fans every day. But he's got to block that out. He's got to block that out because he's had better football team. But you can't obsess over it. You got too many other games, and that's why if he could win this championship, it's gonna quiet him down. But come Michigan game next week, it's gonna be you better not lose 5 in a row. That's just that game and the importance. That's the way it was at Alabama. I was told when I got to Auburn, they say you can be the Auburn head coach, but you're not an Auburn man till you beat Alabama.
Yeah. Do you think that Ohio State, that giant spread, that they're gonna? I mean, that spread indicates that people think they're gonna beat Notre Dame easily.
Yeah, I mean, it may come down, but I just a little too much spread for me. I just, in my mind, Notre Dame is kind of a crowd favorite right now. They have chemistry. They don't have as much talent as Ohio State, but they've got great chemistry as a team. Their coach has great rapport with the team. They respond to him. He's young and probably, I don't want to say naive, but he kind of handles everything not nonchalantly, but just in light. I just think it's been a great story. They find a way to win. I think they've got it. That's how good they are. But again, Ohio State, talent-wise, almost every position, they're going to have to lose that ball game. I don't think Notre Dame can go out and win. I think Ohio State will have to lose that game.
Do you believe that Brian Kelly, it drives him nuts that he left Notre Dame, never won the big game, and that he's losing in Baton Rouge, and he's never done anything there, and this guy's been there 3 years, and he's playing for a national championship? I bet it drives him nuts.
It's got to. It does, and it plays on his head too. Because I don't care what you say. I've talked to plenty of coaches down here. Ron handled the situation differently this year in LSU. You could see the pressure. He's arguing with players on the sideline during a game. His post-game press conferences are really off the board. They're really loud and try to get on people. He's just handling it differently. And then you throw in the fact that Notre Dame has the year they have there. But money might have been there. Sometimes you have to move on to keep your career going. Don't stay too long at any one place. And all those factors may have factored into it.
I don't believe he would have been fired at Notre Dame. He was in the BCS title games. He was in the he was always in the Final Four. He did his thing. I don't think they were going to fire him. I think he thought he could go win the SEC and a national championship.
Yeah, it was a better place to win the national championship. He convinced himself you couldn't quite win it there for whatever reason. No, I don't think he was going to be fired either. And I think they gave him a nice little salary, too. So there was some enticement. But I do believe he felt the way it's being played the last 5 years, you have to be in the SEC to play for a championship. And, buddy, SEC didn't have a good showing this year. It's about the Northern football because they're taking all the good players with NIL.
We'll see you next Monday for the title game, Coach.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Let's go back to the Steelers, albeit not something I'm interested in. I'm done. I'm so done with the Steelers. Honestly, I'm looking at a terrible towel right now. I want to throw it away. I mean, I did say to my son today, though, that I will never, ever stop being a Steeler fan. It's just I'm going through a rough patch.
It's not easy. You're a fan of a team. They make the playoffs. You had hopes, and it doesn't go down. And I don't think you necessarily had hopes. I don't think it was all because of, you went in Saturday night thinking they were going to win. I think it was more you had your hopes up 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
When that team was 10-3, and you're smelling
Super Bowl.
You're smelling division titles, going to a home playoff game, maybe having a chance at the Super Bowl. I think that's where you were built up. I mean, by the time you got to Saturday, you kind of knew that it was a good chance it wasn't going to go well. It's not easy. It sucks. Like, you want to, you've seen him win. You want to see him win again. That's how it goes. And
I went to all 8 of their Super Bowls, Mike.
Listen, it could be one of these next couple of Mondays. I might be coming in here the same way. So it's very possible one of the next 2 Mondays. I'm coming in here the same.
Let's hope not.
Let's hope not is right, but it's possible. So
and I don't think God's a Bills fan. Okay, I don't buy all that bullshit either.
I can
these
tell
people
you,
that think that God and Jesus are pulling for their team and not the other team. Let's get serious here. I have more faith in the guys that jump on tables in the Below parking lot.
34 years. I've been a Bills fan. I'm alive 44. I've been a Bills fan for 34. I can assure you, God's not a Bills fan. All right? I can assure you after 34 years that it's not possible. So here'll be the end. We'll clean up the Steelers so you can be done with them. Here's Tomlin summing it all up after the loss to the Ravens.
This guy.
Congratulations to the Ravens, man. They were the better group today. That was obvious. And really, the X factor was Lamar's unique talents. It seems like every time we got him behind the sticks, he made up for it, or we got him in a possession down circumstance. He extended and won those circumstances, and we never really found a fluid answer all day. Obviously, that was highlighted by our inability to convert third downs in the first half, and they wore it down a little bit. The fatigue component of it became a factor.
All year.
And so, you can sum it all up to say that they were certainly the better group today.
They were the better group all year. The day they beat them 18-16, they had about 6 3-and-outs. They averaged 9 3-and-outs a week. They're awful. Their offense is awful. I hope Arch Smith goes to hell. Okay? Did you hear this? What'd you say to me? Gabe said, who do you want, Art Smith as your coach? Art Smith. I'd rather have Matt Canada as my coach than Art Smith. I don't want to hear it. Listen, you know what? I'm not wrong about any of this. I'm not even close to being wrong about any of it.
Sure. You have some company in not feeling great about the Steelers' offense, and that would be wide receiver George Pickens. So in case the questions are a little low here, the first one is, does he think the offense has progressed since he's come in the league, which would be 3 years? Over 3 years, has it gotten better? And then the second question is, are you optimistic that it's going to continue to get better? Here we go.
You've been with this offense now for 3 years. Have you seen signs of growth, and how much more does this team still need to grow offensively?
Yeah, I've seen signs of growth for sure. From past, the first year I've been here, just way more growth for sure.
Does that make you optimistic going forward?
Nah.
Listen, I'm sick and tired of hearing about this guy's got an attitude problem and he's a malcontent and he's immature. We know that. But he is their best player. When he's not playing, they lose. He is the best player on the football team. He's better than TJ Watt. Let's get real about TJ Watt for a second. He's becoming his brother. At the end of his career, for the last 5 years of his career, his brother didn't do anything except get injured. Now he's been getting injured, not so much this year, but I'll tell you one thing. He had no tackles in the game. He got worked by a rookie single-handedly all day. A rookie from Washington pushed him around like a rag doll. He had no tackles, and over the last 5 weeks of the season, he did nothing except lose the Defensive Player of the Year award. He did nothing for 5 weeks. So he's becoming his brother. So I don't want to hear about how great TJ Watt is with his 0 playoff wins. And he's the first guy to admit it. He comes right out and says, I've never won a playoff game. I don't matter. All right, at least we all know who the best player on the team is. It's George Pickens. If you don't believe that, well, then screw you too.
He is by far their most dynamic offensive player, and you need to get the ball
play in the game for that.
Now he did. So since you say that about Watt, and I've seen some people throw this around, would you like to get rid of him before he completely becomes his brother, J.J. Watt? Would you like to completely get rid of him,
Mike? You think just like me, whether you like it or not. I think they should trade the whole goddamn team, including
Start
the
over.
coach.
Because I know that right now, this offseason, you can get a lot for T.J. Watt. I don't know.
Another guy that shot is Cam Hayward. He's so fat and slow. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
He's like, the heart of the defense, though. He's like,
listen, you know what my son said? He said the smartest thing to me of anyone. He said they should trade him to the Bills so he can go win a ring. Play one season for the Bills. He would be better than Von Miller.
Can I have him this week against the Ravens? Can I use him this week?
We'll trade him right now and let him win a ring right now. Rent a cop right now.
The reports say the Steelers are not planning on making a coaching change. Tomlin's now tied with the second longest postseason losing streak of all time at 6 games. Schottenheimer, Morris Sr., and Steve Owen. Marvin Lewis is first with 7. Bill Cowher. You know it's bad when Bill Cowher even calls the Steelers out. And he said they need to make changes with the coaches and the players on that show yesterday. So even former Steeler great coach Bill Cowher says, time for something new in Pittsburgh.
And Tomlin won with Cowher's team.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, Carver High, name drop. I just heard from your boy, Pete Mundo. You remember him? And he's a big news guy now in Kansas City. He had a bunch of kids. He's watching us right now at the gym, working out, pumping iron. And then secondly, your boy, Drano Lano, checking in. And he said that I'm blasphemous, my comment on God not being a Bills fan. When they win the title this year, I will have to eat another hoagie Tom Hoagie sandwich.
Listen, let me just tell you something. If the Bills somehow defeat the Ravens, the Chiefs, and whoever comes out of the NFC, God will not have helped them. It only means that Josh Allen is God. Okay, that's the only. It does not mean that God helped them. It means that Josh Allen is God.
If he's able to get through. Star wife now? Has he got some hot chick?
Yes. He's engaged to that girl now, Haley, whatever her name is, Stanfield. So he's absolutely doing very well in that department. I'm not in on these newer actresses, and I don't know. You got to remember, my life
top
is
500 movies. We don't do current movies.
But here's the problem: all those movies that are in the top 500, none of them have been. None of them include movies made in like the last 10 years since I've had kids. So none of them are in there. None of them. So.
But listen, I'm going to give you. I heard this from 34C. A great movie, the Dutch version of Speak No Evil. Now, the English version has that American actor in it that played Split Personalities, whatever his name is. I don't know all these people. You know the guy that played Split? He had like 10 personalities, that kid? McAvoy. Thank God Mafia get the tequila out. So the Dutch version is 10 times better than the American version. And she watched the Dutch version and was freaked out. So there's a good movie for you. Speak No Evil. My Cisco and Ebert pick of the week.
And hello to Pete out there in Kansas City. We love Pete. Doing a great job. I see him all the time talking to some of the biggest names in politics. So that's a great job by Pete out there. The Bills got off to a slow start at home in Orchard Park yesterday. They gave up a touchdown to Denver on the first drive of the game, the long hit to Franklin. They did not allow another point. 31 straight rattled off by the Bills. Josh Allen coming alive in the second half. There's always one highlight reel play from Josh Allen. Well, this was it to Ty Johnson on Westwood One Sports.
Second best in the league this year, converting on fourth down 73% of the time. Allen works out of the gun here, though. This isn't the tailor-made Allen launching over center. They need a yard on fourth down. Shotgun snap, he's going to throw on fourth down. Steps up, rolls to his right. Holding, looking for somebody. There's nothing. He now fires to the back of the end zone. It is caught! Touchdown! Ty Johnson!
That was an unbelievable catch. I don't know if that was Larrabee.
That was John Sadak on Westwood One Sports. So John Sadak, who also does a very good job.
I believe he does.
John Sadak, who I believe also does the Reds on TV. I believe.
What was the guy's name on Wheel of Fortune?
Pat Sajak. Pat Sajak was that. That was John Sadak doing a nice job.
Neighbors to Sajak.
But the Bills roll 31-7. Not a problem at all, but they have a problem this week, and that is Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and the Baltimore Ravens. Here is Sean McDermott.
If you weren't coaching in the game next week, would you want to buy a ticket to watch Lamar and Josh Wilson?
Yeah, I mean, this is what everyone's been waiting for, right? So it'll be a nice week, and everyone will be looking forward to it. And they're a great football team, right? I mean, they handled us pretty good the first go around, and they're certainly playing well coached.
They're really
John's
good.
won a Super Bowl and comes from great pedigree, so it'll be a big challenge for us.
If they were great, they would have coasted to the North title. They had to steal it from the Steelers, who were 2 games up with 4 games to go, and they choked. And they are not great. Let's calm down about great. The Bills are better than the Ravens, and so are the Chiefs.
They are not a great team. They have 2 great players.
I agree.
Great players. And those 2 guys are so good. And we'll get into more of this later. Gabe kind of was on the right path. I think Lamar's not my problem this week. Derrick Henry is my problem. But remember this from that blowout game. The Bills' 3 best players on defense, Milano, Taron Johnson, and Terrell Dodson, didn't play in that game against the Ravens where they smashed them. They're playing this Sunday. Okay, they're going to be out there in Orchard Park.
The Bills are winning.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
There he is. the Fanatics' own Morning King, John Kincaid in Landview, Pennsylvania. We always like to check in with him whenever the Eagles or any of those other teams in Philly do well. And right now the Eagles are looking fantastic. And we've said on this show for 2 months they're going to play the Lions for the NFC title. And I still think it'll happen. I think Washington will give Detroit a game, but I didn't think that was a game yesterday, John. I thought Philly played great on defense as usual and handled their business.
I'm shocked, though, Scotty, that they didn't put up more than 22. Because at halftime, I put out a message to my followers, and I'm like, anyone else getting Penn State, Notre Dame vibes? Because they had dominated the first half, but yet to distance themselves. And Green Bay would have a chance. If Jordan Love stops throwing the ball to the opposite team, they could get back into that game. That never happened, by the way. So that was a lot of fun to watch.
He looked awful, but not as bad as Justin Herbert did.
Scotty, I remember some of those road trips with the Thrashers, and I mean, he was stumbling around, and I thought maybe it was a flashback to 1999.
Honestly, you can't play like that and win a playoff game. It's bad enough. We've sat here all day talking about my Steelers bending over for 5 weeks. They looked anemic. They were down 21-0. They were just awful. Their defense was awful. Their offense is stale and 3-and-out. I don't see those problems with Philly. Now, let's talk about Hurts. He came back from missing the games with the concussion, and he didn't have to really do that much. But when he ran, he was effective, and I thought Barkley did his usual great job.
The big key is this, Scotty. Think of it this way, is that Jalen Hurts, he's played in 15 and a half of the games that they've played this year. He has as many interceptions in 15 and a half games as Jared Goff threw in 51 minutes of one game. So what they've been asking Jalen Hurts to do is exactly what you just said. Don't do too much. You don't have to do too much. You have Saquon Barkley. You got a great offensive line. Just don't turn the ball over. And they have set that at a premium, and it's worked. But, of course, everybody was going nuts this morning saying, well, why didn't Hurts throw for 250 and everything like that? And it's like, because they don't have to. And they don't put the ball in harm's way. And I think that'll probably be very important this week, depending on who they end up playing.
Listen, you make all the sense in the world every day when you're on the air. None of those fans in that town make sense at all effing ever. Like, they are nuts. Like, they are the dumbest, wildest drunks, fat asses. They boo Santa Claus. Listening to them complain is like having 5 ex-wives. I mean, honest to Christ. You make sense. They don't. I don't care what they say to you. I care about what you think about the teams in Philly. I don't care a lick about what they think because they're all a bunch of idiots. And you can tell them I said so.
Well, the thing is, Philadelphia is a real thing, so they're not going to be happy if I deliver that message, even though you are still a beloved son of the city. I'll tell you this, guy. One thing that I know is, here's what they all unite on: the defensive side of the ball. It's as if everybody's on the same page. Everybody in this town loves defense, and they love in the secondary, the exciting whites are the biggest thing in town. That's one of the biggest T-shirt sales right now in Philly with Reed Blankenship and, of course, Cooper DeJean, who is setting the town on fire. And, again, 4 more turnovers yesterday. This team has become a stampede of that in the last 2 months. And I don't think there's a better team than them in the NFC, but I certainly think if they end up having to go to Detroit, that'll be a hell of a tough time trying to get that done.
I think their defense is better than Detroit's, but I don't think I don't think their offense is better. I think it'll be a great game. It'll be a great offense against a great defense. Something has to give. Talk about DeJean and about Q. I think they're special players.
I can't believe the way Howie Roseman rebuilt such a part of the core of the secondary in one draft and was able to do it. And it just shows where, like, Dallas in their own division and the Giants have been such fools for years. And then, sorry about that to the New York listeners, because I know you got a lot of fans there. But it's the truth, is Howie manages to go, they find Zach Baun off the scrap heap as a special teams guy in New Orleans. He ends up a Pro Bowler. And then you end up getting 2 guys in the draft with your first 2 picks and the first 40 players, and they end up being starters and tremendous. This Eagles team, that's the youngest defense in football, Scotty. Youngest defense, and they were number 1 this year. That tells you all you need to know. They're going to be good for a while. That leaves the Eagles a little flexibility this offseason after the parade. That way they can worry about that stuff after the parade.
The parade, he's already got plans. So I think that the Vikings or Rams, and I think the Vikings are better.
You do.
because of their defense.
I think
let's see if they can handle their business. Either team plays Philly, they're losing.
So you've already written that in as a loss. Who do you think gives them the better game next Sunday? Because, by the way, I know you're a man who speaks the truth. The fact that somebody has to play Monday Night Football during Wild Card Weekend, that sucks. That's unfair. It's unfair that the Eagles have been sitting around and get to sit at home, and their opponent is playing tonight, flies home overnight, if it's Minnesota. And even if it's the Rams, they got to go back to L.A., try to get situated on a short week to then fly cross-country over to Philly. I think the NFL scheduling stinks, even though it's going to work to the Eagles' advantage this week.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with any of that. I just know that let's say none of that was happening and they were just playing the winner of this game on a normal playoff. Right. They win either way. They're just that defense is not losing to either of those teams. I think the Rams have a good quarterback and great receivers. I think the Vikings have a spectacular defense like the Eagles, and I think it'll be a good game. But they're not winning at the Link. They have stripper poles on trucks and free brisket. No one is winning at that place.
I think that's fair. We had Matt Ryan on the show last week from CBS, and Matt said the same thing, is that how many games have to go through Philly? And if the 2 that have to go through Philly, you're pretty much almost penciling them in as wins. But look, Detroit's going to be it's going to be a fun battle if that happens. You don't think the Commanders have any juice, or you think if they have juice to give them a game? But not to win. I bet on the Commanders last night, and I hit 4 to 5 games. The only one I got wrong was the Chargers. But I think the Commanders are going to give Detroit a game like the Buccaneers did last year. They had the ball with a chance to win, and Baker threw the pick. I think Jake Daniels, obviously, is one of the most exciting players in the NFL, and he beat Baker last night. That was the only good game of the lot, and I thought it was fantastic. I think they'll give them a game, and I think they'll lose. And I think it's Detroit and Philly for the world. And the winner's going to the Super Bowl, and that's all there's to it. I think they're at a disadvantage having to go to Ford Field, but they're used to – I think Philly can win there. I don't know if I'm ready to throw them the game yet. I still have to see what the line is, everything else. But I've said for 2 months that it's going to happen. I said for a month that Notre Dame and Ohio State would play for the national championship. Carver High and I both agreed on both of those things. And they have. Wow, that's impressive.
Let me ask you a question. The new Flyers arena that's going to open up or whatever in 2031. Tell me about that.
Okay. So what they decided to do is, the stadium complex in Philly, where we have the basketball and hockey. They're going to build on the same sort of footprint. They're going to build a brand new arena for the Flyers and the Sixers that they're going to share. And here's the story that's going to come out next. Scotty, you're going to hear within the next 6 months to a year that Jeffrey Lurie's building a new stadium too. And they're going to build a new – yes, I'm telling you that there's going to be a brand new complex. They're going to add 2 new hotels, restaurants, things like that, and they're going to make it even bigger and badass than ever. It's the best stadium complex in America.
I love parking illegally in Philly and going to the Link incognito. It's one of my favorite things to do, and I keep my mouth shut so no one punches me in the mouth and knocks all my teeth out. Good luck this week.
Yes.
Women as well are dangerous in Philly. Good luck this week, John. Always good to see you, brother. Have a good year.
Take care, man. See you. Have a great
two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, so it all wraps up tonight. Now, I know John Kincaid was talking about these teams are at a massive disadvantage. You know, I don't really agree with that. But Notre Dame had a short week, right? And they still beat Penn State. I know it's college, pro. What's the difference? These guys play on Sunday, then they play on Thursday, they play on Saturday, they play on Sunday. They get paid millions. I don't want to hear it. I mean, honestly. And listen, here's another thing. Oh, boy, what a brutal flight it'll be for the Rams to go 45 minutes to Los Angeles. I mean, honestly, Minnesota's the one that has to worry. They got to fly 3.5 hours. The Rams flying 40 minutes. They go up, they go down. Stop.
See, the funny part is it's an easy thing, and it's not just John. It's an easy thing for everybody to kind of point at and be like, oh, how could they make a team do this? Do you hear anybody saying how Washington's playing a day? Washington played last night. They're playing Saturday. It's the same amount of days that the loser of this game is going to have now. Detroit's been sitting around, so I guess that's why it doesn't matter. These teams play. It's a week. It is what it is. It's a disadvantage both playing Monday night. They got to go to Philly no matter what on Sunday. That's how it goes.
No matter
That's
what.
the schedule, and we could find teams. The Rams played in this game. They've been doing this Monday night playoff game. I think this is the third or fourth year that they've been doing it. The first year they did it, the Rams played on Monday night against Arizona. They won the Super Bowl. They went on the road to Tampa that Sunday after, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl that year. So it's all an easy excuse to have if you lose. See, that's what it is. It's a nice, easy excuse that you can have. But tonight is the final game of Wild Card Weekend, and it was supposed to take place in Los Angeles. Now it's taking place in Glendale, Arizona, because of the obviously awful situation that's going on in the Los Angeles area. That means not a normal week for Sean McVay and his football team, but he believes that they can handle it.
I do believe that in spite of, how unfortunate a lot of these different things are, this group is built to be able to handle different forms of adversity and overcome, which they've done, and we're looking forward to doing that this week.
Very resilient.
I mean, honestly, there is no way you can explain that off to me. Okay, so the entire city of Los Angeles burned to the ground, and we got to fly to play a game in Arizona, and we're built for this. I mean, stop. Just stop that nonsense.
This is
they
not
have to play a game against a team they've already played once. Pull out the game film, and let's see what we can do in this game Monday night. Look, the best thing about this game tonight is that there's a game tonight. There's a game tonight we can watch.
Right. That is the best thing about the game. And look, there's no, like you say, this is not a normal situation. There's not a playbook for this. And it's still a football game. They're going to have to play it. I think the one thing if guys got on their heads, if somebody's house burned down, obviously we had family in trouble, that stuff would be. But he has said a couple times that the team has not had any of those issues. It's just like they're going on the road to play a football game at this point. That's really what it boils down to. Now, on the other side, the Vikings, 14 wins this year, and still, of course, have to go on the road. Justin Jefferson, we know he's one of the best in the business, but you got to translate that to the postseason as well. He's 0 for 1. Remember, they lost that game to the Giants a couple years ago. Another chance for Jefferson to shine on a big stage.
Yeah, it's definitely important to have those moments. It's win or go home. It's you have those moments or you miss those moments, and you wish you had those moments after the season. So you definitely don't want to have those type of conversations. And this is the second time, me being in the playoffs. So and even the last time we only had one game in the playoffs and we lost. So it's definitely those type of games, and even last game was felt that type of vibe. That playoff atmosphere, being in that stadium. Just the tension on the game definitely was a playoff atmosphere game. So just carrying on into now going into another atmosphere where we're not at home, and it's a win or go home situation. So everybody got to come to play.
Look, I think for me, the receivers in this game are simply some of the best in the league. I think the Rams and Vikings receivers are very dynamic. And who's going to make more plays tonight passing the ball? Because Darnold throws better over 20 yards than almost anyone in the league. And I think that Stafford is a dangerous customer. He's already got a ring. So old Graybeard is ready to go with Puka shells and Cup. And look, these receivers tonight, this could be really exciting. And I think the Vikings have a sensational defense. I got to be honest with you. When Brian Flores was with the Steelers as an assistant, he's one of the best coaches in the league. He butchered his career with all of his lawsuits and everybody's racist and all the rest, going after the owner of the Dolphins. Let's face facts. He hurt his own track. This guy is a really good coach. In fact, McVay gets all his genius stuff. I think Flores' defense is sick. You talk about Philly's defense. The Vikings' defense is just as good as Philly's. So that game next week, if the Vikings win, is going to be awesome. It's going to be an under. Okay? Know that. Because those two are going to punch each other in the throat.
It is -2.5 right now for the Vikings tonight. 47.5 the total. This is a tough one for me. But I'm going to go better coach, better quarterback with McVay and with Stafford. And I'm going to take the Rams, Scotty, getting the 2.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the defense, and I'm going to go with the team that won 14 games. I'm going to go with the Vikings, and far be it from me to be right. I hit 4 to 5 games. We'll see if I can do it again. And I also think it's going to be an under.
Yeah, I'm going to give you those numbers in a moment. The under, I think there was only one over this weekend so far, and that was the Charger game, and that was by like the skin of their teeth, by a half. That game got over. Every game's been under so far. It's been absolutely miserable. I gave you this the other day, but I'll give it to you now. Darnold making his first start in the playoffs tonight. Quarterback's first start versus quarterbacks with experience, 20, 38, and 1, 34% against the spread. Now, that was split yesterday. Remember, I gave you all 3 the other day. Daniels won, Knicks lost. So they split in the same stat that you have here. So you get Darnold tonight in that spot. I've got tutties and player props as well when we come back.
This guy, they got their ass smoked by the Lions. How do they come off of that game is a concern for me, and especially Sam Darnold.
two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
That was the funniest thing ever. My boss sent me that clip that you are not allowed to hear because it's so dirty. But it's so funny. It was Mike Tomlin in AI, artificial intelligence, recreating Mike Tomlin going into the playoff game, bashing his team, bashing himself, bashing Russell Wilson, and Inya listening ass and his hot yoke. Oh my God, Carver, you got to admit that was funny. He goes, when playoffs roll around, I'm planning vacations. I don't even worry about winning. It was great. All right, sorry about that. Let's take one last look at the wild card NFL weekend.
Yeah, favorites 3-2 against the spread. Home teams 4-1 against the spread, and of course unders 4-1. So 4 of the 5 games under 47.5 tonight. I mean, God, can we get a game with a lot of touchdowns? I mean, that was brutal these last 2 days, not having any of that. So hopefully we can get that cooking tonight. As far as the player props in this game, the most bet, Hawkinson over 42.5 receiving yards, Puka Shells over 89.5, Justin Jefferson 87.5, Stafford over 242.5, and Puka Shells over 2.5 rushing yards. The Jets sweep the Puka Shells over 2.5 rushing yards.
I like that bet, and I don't like Stafford over. I'll give you Jefferson and Puka, and I don't like Hawkinson. I mean, that defense is legit. Yep. They know what they have to do tonight. They have to stop him. They have to stop one of those 2 receivers. There's not one receiver going to beat them just by himself with 100 yards and a tutty. That's not going to beat them. But if you get 2 guys having 4 touchdowns, 2 each, or 2 separately, and you get the same thing from your young alleged great defense, you'll win the game. I've been hearing about these 2 defenses until I'm blue in the face. So is it going to be offensive or defense? I think it's a defensive game, but I hope you're right, and it's a wild game. I thought the Washington-Tampa game was not a wild game. I thought it was a really good game that was stressful.
It was a game that had some stress and some drama to the end of it, which was the only game of the weekend that had that. None of the other games had it whatsoever. We'll see if tonight's does. Here's where I'm going touchdown-wise. You heard Justin Jefferson say it. He wants to set the tone. Well, how about we set the tone with him scoring first? 6-1, first touchdown for Justin Jefferson this evening in Glendale. Cooper Kupp plus 175. Cam Akers, former Ram, has gotten a lot of gas the last few weeks in that Viking offense. I'm going to take a shot there at plus 290 and another bomb with Higbee at 5-1, who also has had much more since he's come back off of the injury a few weeks ago.
No Puka Shell study from Carver High this week?
Well, look, you know me. I kind of like to go for the things that have some big numbers behind them. Puka Shells plus $110. That's fine. I don't mind Puka Shells, obviously, if you want to get him in there. But I'm looking for for big numbers. Big numbers is where I chase. So that's how it is.
And what about Jones for the Vikings? Can we get a Jones cutty in there?
No, I want Akers. Akers. Give me Akers instead. If I forget Jones. Maybe he'll do what he usually does. Gets hurt for half the game. And then Akers can come in and get himself a touchdown. So why don't we get that? NFL playoff bracket. You know how the AFC shapes up now. We'll find out more about the NFC tonight. The winner will play the Eagles, as we know. There it is, heading into divisional round weekend. And remember, Saturday, first game, 4:30 is Chiefs-Texans. Lions and Washington is at night on Saturday. Sunday, 3 o'clock, Eagles versus the winner of tonight. Sunday, 6:30, Bills and the Ravens in the Below. Quickly, the early lines for all of those games. Let's see if I can get them all in for you. We'll be doing this all week, as you know. 7.5 Chiefs and Texans with a 41.5. 8.5. So this was 10.5 last night. It's already been banged down to 8.5 for the Lions in Washington with a 55.5. Look out. And the Bills and the Ravens, last night it was Bills minus 1.5. Now Ravens minus 1.5 on a Monday afternoon.
Oh, God. Give me the Bills. I don't care about anything else. I still think, frankly, at this point, that Kansas City, that's a joke. They're going to win that game. And that'll be that.
7.5.
I don't care what the number is. This is the playoffs. All that they never cover stuff is out the window now because it's his time to shine, and we already know what he does. Thanks so much. And then that number's pretty big in Detroit. I'm tempted to take Washington in the number, but I still think the Lions are going to win.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.